Hey, Mihir. So let's see. I'm sorry for not getting back to you sooner on these exercises. um, let's see. We got exercise 132. What would you have to add? What would you have to do to add a new field? For example, one called name to a circle object. Um, let's see. So. Okay, so yeah, let me show you how what that would look like. So let's go to the circle object. So here are all your fields, right? So if you want to add another field, so basically the format that we use for these BlueJ guys is we have the class name, right? And then the brace here. And inside this brace, inside this green area, we're going to first list all the fields and then all the methods. So the stuff in yellow is all the methods, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields in here. We're going to add another field, and we want to call it name. So, a reasonable type for name would be string, which I see you got that idea. Let's see. So the way you declare it is like we could stick it right here because this is where our fields go, right? So you could say private string name, and now you have a string called name, and you can always check by compiling too to make sure there are no syntax errors. All right, so what was the next question? Write the signature for a method named send that has one parameter of type string and does not return a value. So let's see what you were thinking for that one. This looks pretty close. So you got the idea. You need a void, and we've been using public for our methods. We want it to be a type string, but to be a valid signature, you need the actual variable. Let me see if I can find one in here. Yeah, so here's an example. For move horizontal, you give the type, but then you also give a variable name, so that a name for the parameter, so that we can use that integer here. For example, we can use it here inside the method. And here's another example of distance in here. Another, or new diameter. Or so you can have a string that says new color, like that. So what we would want to do for the signature for send would be something like, and again, another way to test this is, so we could say private, try writing it, private, or yeah, let's make it public. I know we have some private ones in here, but public, I like the way you made it public, because that should be your preference at this point. So send string. So you got this is right as far as we got, but then we need a name for the variable. And yeah, you could stick a semicolon on here. Like if this was an interface, that would be fine, or an abstract class, that would be fine. Just to test it out, just to make sure, we can see if it's a valid signature by just including an empty body. It doesn't return anything, so we don't have to have a return statement in there, and just see if that compiles, and see that looks fine. So this is a legal signature. But again, this is a way that you can test it. So if they ask you for a legal signature, if they asked for a signature that returned a value, Well, I have a sample one. Let's just throw that one in here. Oh, not a method comment, a method, yeah. So here's an example of a method that returns a value, returns an int, so it has to have a return statement in there. Okay, so that one compiles too. So this line right here, the signature line, that's a valid signature, and that's a valid signature. Okay. What else? Let's see. The next one was write a signature for a method named average that has two parameters, both of type int, and returns an int value. So let's see. You got the, it returns an int value. Usually with method names, we start with lowercase. And class names we put in uppercase. So I would use a lowercase a here. And then the way that we pass the two variables, again, it's this idea that we need to give the variable name and a, we need to give the type of parameter and a name for the parameter that we can use inside the method. So what would that look like? Let's see. So we could do something like, well, let's just modify this one. We want to return an integer, right? So we could say average int. We're going to have two numbers. We could have, say, the first number, int second number, okay, and then return, let me just return 0 actually, as long as it's an integer that we're returning, it doesn't matter what we return. So let's compile. That compiles, and again, since we're all we're doing is testing the signature, we don't really care what's in the body as long as it returns what we need to return. And see, if it's a void, we don't have to have this return statement, right? So so this would be a legal signature for a method named average that returns an int and takes two integer parameters. All right. So is there anything else? I think that was the last one. 134. Oh yeah. So as far as the lowercase and uppercase business, it's not enforced by the compiler. So you could compile, you could put a capital letter here, and it'll compile, right? But the convention is to start all method names with a lowercase for readability purposes, okay? So you always have to remember whenever you're writing, so these are class names. This is a class name. This is a method name. So this is a class name, okay? So whenever you're writing code, you're always writing for two audiences. One is for the computer, to make sure that the computer understands. The other one is for other programmers, including yourself later on down the road. So when you go back, you don't get confused. So there are conventions that are kind of followed just so that the code is more readable to other humans. And one of them is that, programmers have agreed among themselves that they're going to start class names with a capital letter. And so, of course, the constructor has to have a capital letter because it has to be the same name as the class. But then all the other methods start with a lowercase, and they're all in, we call this camel case, where if you're starting a new word, so make visible is two words, when you start a new word, you start it with a capital. But the first letter of the method is always a lowercase. Yeah, so that's what that's about. Is there anything else? Oh, I think that's it. So I think that's it. again, sorry for the late reply, but let me know if you have any more questions.